Chawla, who's already en route to Varanasi, is now joining me on the story, and also Nalini Sharma is joining me from the national capital, Delhi. We'll come to you first, Simar. It seems like the ASI report has put a stamp on what millions of Hindus have been believing over the past many years, that this mosque indeed, the Gyanvapi Mosque, has actually been built on top of the huge Kashi Vishwanath Temple.
Well, indeed, some of the big revelations have been made in this particular ASI report, which, certain facts have been accessed by India today. If I just go through the facts, they mentioned that there was a pre-existing structure of a temple which was broken, and then from the debris of it, the mosque was being made. Also, it mentions that pillars and plasters of the temple were being used to make the pillars of the mosque, and also there were some of the sculptures, some of the carvings in the pillars of the temple that were in fact tried to erase. So these are the facts which have been mentioned in this very particular ASI report, which is of 839 pages. Although no one is commenting on this very particular issue, not either the lawyers of the Muslim community, but the facts which have been unearthed, which has been mentioned in this very particular report, is in fact very revealing, and there are some big revelations to make. Like an attempt was made to erase the carvings of the pillar. 32 such inscriptions have been found here, which belong to the old Hindu temple. And also there have been inscriptions of Devanagari text in Telugu and Kannada. So these all things have been found, which has been very particularly mentioned in the ASI report. Since now the ASI report is with the respective lawyers of both the parties, the report has not been made public yet. But yes, these are the findings which have been mentioned and which have been confirmed by the lawyers of the Hindu party. So in fact, indeed, it's a big development, keeping in mind what's happening, in Ayodhya, and also a lot of people who believed, who relentlessly fought the battle in the court. So it's a big win for them. Not completely, we can say, until and unless the court made some judgment on the observation. But the ASI report, in fact, is revealing in itself, which has some big revelation, and indeed establishes that in 17th century that there was a temple which was then demolished, and after that a structure of mosque was being made using the pillars of the particular temple.
Colleague who's already en route to Varanasi is saying that all that the Hindus have been believing it over the past many years is something that the ASI report is also speaking about. Nalini, coming to you now, what will be the next course of action?
Well, Aishwarya, it's safe to say that this is the biggest news break that has come on this entire Gyanvapi dispute so far, because it's the first time that any official authority has gone on record and stated that there was an existing temple or a mandir that was there on this land before the mosque was built. Now, just a few clarifications quickly before we get into the details of the ASI report. Number one, the report does not talk about the temple being demolished. It only says that there was a pre-existing structure. Now, as to whether or not that structure was demolished, there is no clarity on that on the ASI report. The second thing is that the ASI, the Archaeological Survey of India, has used GPR technology, which is ground penetrating radar technology, to determine as to whether or not there was an existing structure in the same place where the Gyanvapi Mosque currently stands. In fact, even before this report had been given to the parties, officials of the ASI had already made it clear that through GPR technology, they will be able to confirm as to whether or not there was any pre-existing structure. And now, by looking into various aspects, the walls, the pillars, the carvings, all of these aspects, they've delved into in a very intrinsic way. And after that, they've come out with this 839-page report where they've categorically stated that there was an existing temple on the same site where the Gyanvapi Mosque currently stands. In fact, the pillars of the Gyanvapi Mosque are the same pillars that were earlier in the temple. And there was an attempt made to clear off the carvings that were there on the pillars, but all of the carvings could not be removed properly. In addition to that, the report also talks about the western wall of the Gyanvapi Mosque complex, and it says that this western wall is the same wall that was part of the earlier Hindu temple that existed on this spot. Now remember, Aishwarya, the Vazukhana, or the main area that is in dispute as where the supposed shivling was found, is still not something that has been surveyed by the ASI. So this survey only pertains to all of the areas except for the Vazukhana, which is at the crux of this dispute as to whether or not that structure found in the Vazukhana is actually a shivling or not. But what this report does do is help the Hindu side make its case even more strongly, because they've been time and again claiming that it is in fact a shivling and not a fountain like the Muslim sides are claiming. So if the ASI report has conclusively said that there existed a temple in this same spot before the Gyanvapi Mosque was constructed, then the Hindu parties, of course, have a stronger ground to stand on when they claim that that particular structure which is in dispute might actually be a shivling. More details of this report are still going to come out once the report is made public. Like Simar very correctly said, the reports have only been handed over to the lawyers right now. The reports have not been put into public domain as yet. And in addition to that, it's an 839-page report. So there are several facets, several aspects of things that ASI would have looked at that require a deeper understanding. But at the same time, the conclusion clearly states, and I can read out from the report for you, the conclusion at the last page, ASI clearly states that based on the scientific study, the survey carried out, and the study of the architectural remains, exposed features and artifacts, inscriptions, art and scriptures, it can be said that there existed a Hindu temple prior to the construction of the existing structure. Again, clarification, this does not mean that the Hindu temple was demolished or razed down in any way to build the Gyanvapi Mosque. It only simply says that the Hindu temple existed, and now on the same spot, the Gyanvapi Mosque stands.
Colleague is now